That's what you do. You buy these plays that cost money and make a difference in it. But we never do that.
Never complains, gets up, gets on it, with a smile on his face.
He just want you to sit in your chair and go, hip hip hooray, for the Western press and the Western narrative. Regurgitating the same old, same old, same old, every single day, without its. If you haven't seen it before, please watch the first series, the first 2 episodes, the second series.
We are on the site of the castle.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
Hey everyone. Oh yeah, new show. So the history of literature. That's what it's all about. When you get, when you read, you read books and things, and it reminds you of things, what's gone on in the past, if you know a little bit of history then. And that's what it's all about. The history of literature. Give you a big example. Now Shakespeare, right? He had to say all nice things about the state. That's why he wrote about all the kings, like Henry IV and Henry V. That's what he did, all nice things. Everyone was made up with the shakes, everybody. But when he went outside and wrote plays, for example, like Othello, even Macbeth, because that wasn't a part of the Union, Hamlet, and there's a very famous line in Hamlet. Now, there's a few famous lines where he says, "There is something rotten in the state of Denmark." What he was actually saying was, there's something rotten in the state of England. And, and he said, if he ever gets found out, I shall suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. That's what he said. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it's to be nobler in the mind or suffer. What will come to the consequences of slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. This is what he was saying about the state. So everything is history. Everything. And we go right through it. And I'll just go through a few comments because I've got my great friend on who loves literature, loves everything. The arts, as we call it. I always remember, honestly, saying to someone, one of the mates, I love classical music, I love opera. Looked at me, yeah, bro. I always remember it being one of the lads' 21st, because back in the day we only celebrated 21st birthdays. And we went to the person's house never got clubs or anything back in the day. Brought crates of ale back. And anyway, they were shouting me, like, come on, I'm gonna go. So I went and looked over the land. So I came from Cherry Garden. And he said, here, Leslie, come on. And I said, I think I've said this before. I said, I'm going to see Macbeth. True. And one of the lads, this was true. One of the lads shouted, bring him. I said, I never explained. I just said, listen, I'll see you later. I'll get along to Chaz later on. He said, okay. And when I went back there, seen the play. Seen it on the Empire, actually. And when I went, back, I had to go straight to the house because they were going for the drink first. They were going for the drink first, then back to the house. So by the time I got out, I know that he was a bit well-being back. So I went back to the house. So anyway, shade shot, all the best, mate, whatever. And one of the lads said, did you bring that Mac fella with you? There is he. I just said, no, he couldn't make it. I just didn't want to go through anything like that. But that was me when I was 21. Let's see what you have been saying. Well, I'll have to put my bloody glasses on. You know what, my eyes are going worse. Really going worse. Buonasera, Franco. Charlotte Bronte, the novel Jane Eyre, until this day, it is considered. You can ask Anthony. Now, I love Shakespeare. I love them all. But I'm a specialist on Dickens and him, this fella here behind me. I just love Dickens. And someone asked me once, what's your favourite novel? And when I told them, they were shocked. They said, I thought it would have been Charles Dickens, one of his. I said, no, Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte. Great social comment. Loved it. Fantastic. And even back in the day when I was written, the Bronte sisters, brilliant. The hierarchy, the men, they were actually saying, no, they never wrote it. Those girls. They used their pseudonyms. Cora Bell. So they said, no, they couldn't use the real names. It was only Jane Eyre before we could use a name. And Mary Shelley simply because of Percy Bysshe and Lord Byron. They couldn't. So I hope I've surprised you there, Bella. Hello, everybody on chat. Hope you're all well. Yes. I'll just go through this. I'll bring my wonderful friend up. The works of Geoffrey Chaucer, the father of English literature, well done, Simon, is profound, mostly notably the Canterbury Tales, yes, paved the way for the literacy greats like Shakespeare. Thing is, I remember doing it for A-level. I can't understand. Don't forget Claxton, who made the very first print machine as well. Yeah, but Geoffrey Chaucer couldn't read, and we had to read it the way it was written. It was very hard to understand. Still can't do it. And I'll let you into a secret. Metaphysical poetry kills me. Kills me. The likes of John Donne. Good shout that, Simon. It seems to me that poverty is in the eyeglass through which one may see his true friends. Geoffrey Chaucer. Excellent stuff. They can't make it tonight. Just popped in to give a like. We'll watch the see you later, Frank and chat. Thank you, Redbird. Thank you so much. And Simon says, sorry, Frank, I want Anthony and all in the chat tonight. I bid good evening to all. Ah, he's going as well. Simon. Oh. Redbird and Simon. And Barry said, even if Frank and Anthony, how's it going? It's the missus's birthday today. Had a fab lunch at Parbold and she paid. Got it made. Happy birthday, Mrs. Aldridge. In Hanover Street for lunch with my brother and all workmates from Wimpy Builders on Friday. Great. I hope it's a lovely dry day for you. I'm going up to see it. Anthony will be made up with this. I'll tell him in a moment when he comes on. Good evening, Anthony. Hope you're well, says Bella Ital. Ciao Franco, ciao tutti. Hello all. Say Toscana. Say ciao tutti. That's all you. Looking forward to tonight. I honestly think people would enjoy literature if it was presented differently at school. Yeah, I used to do some evening classes, and it was a funny title. It was called Shakespeare for the Terrified. So I used to go in, and it was very successful actually. Johan, good evening, Frank, Anthony, and legends in the chat. Hope everyone is well. Yes. The lovely Lynn Ellis. Evening, Frank. I'll do us a favour, and if you're still there, just tell Lynn, happy anniversary, because I think she's 35 years married. There and there. He's a love. I always forget his name. And I felt it's terrible. Every time I forget his name. Lovely fella though, but tell her all, wish you and everyone on here wishes her as well. A little show. And Toscana, Bella Rita, did you have to study Dante? Oh, Anthony, I'll be mixed up. I had to for my Italian A-level. Luckily, we had a friend of the family who understood it and explained it enough for me to pass. Brilliant. I love that. Rachel Landing. And what we were talking about the other day. I went to, Anthony will talk about Dante. I went to Santa Croce Church. And I was saying to her, and I said, you know what? I said, people must have thought that I was nuts. This is in Florence, by the way. It's only a small church, from all the big things you go into, like the Duomo, all the big churches. It's only small. And there's me, and I'm looking, and I'm going, just in awe. Because the tombs, Dante, Machiavelli, Leonardo, Michelangelo. I was touching them. They must have thought, look at this fella here. It's just like when I would go to the Colosseum. I was in a queue, and I went, I'm going over there. She said, She said, don't, she thought I was going to go over to sit and bunk in. You know, come on, hurry up. I went, no, I said, it's all right. I'm going over to touch the walls. Touching the wall. People were looking at me. Because you're touching history. You're touching people who put it down. But anyway, the bear. Oh, the bear. Frank, watch the Money Masters on YouTube and everyone. It will educate even for unbelievable documentary. The Money Masters. The Money Masters. It's not about the Rothschilds and people like that, is it? The people who manipulate. Likes up, people, for Frankie, please. Thank you. But I really hope that. I hope Frank and Anthony are well tonight. Anthony will tell you in one moment. Johan, happy anniversary, man. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? And Barry, keep making notes on the history of Liverpool, Frank. The missus's mums, half sisters discovered an ancestry are visiting soon. Very good. Fucking eyes closed, this one. Oh. So, made appointments anyway for next week. Oh, me little eyes. And I'm going to bring in this wonderful man. And there he is. And if you think this fella's a great artist, the literature side as well, it's all about. But just let me feel. Sorry, Frank, long so I know, but I may need your help if you're free. I'll pay for your taxi and lunch, says Barry. I wish I could give you my number. I can't give you my number on here. If you can get hold of Jason for something, I don't know. He'll give you my number and text me and I'll ring you back. Okay, that's all I can do for you. Just text. All right, mate. Just text back. And there's the man himself.
Oh,
Keep you waiting. Sorry to keep you waiting.
I am well happy to be waiting and listen to the guys and to yourself. Happy anniversary and good one and all. No, happy to be here.
What do you think of Toscana? She knew an expert when she was doing the exam. Was it Toscana or Bella Italia?
Friend of the family.
And dancing.
Fantastic way to go. Yeah. Like Shakespeare. The first time you're faced with that, it's like, wow, where's he from? And a lovely story from none other than our greatest local Shakespeare, Alan Bleasdale. And when he was a school teacher, he wanted to go back to the school that he was taught in, where they kind of wrote him off, said one of his reports was tries hard with little success. This is well before we discovered the joys of his imagination. But anyway, he goes back to the same school as a qualified teacher, and he knew the kids were struggling with Shakespeare. So I'm not sure what the piece was. More than likely Macbeth. So you're talking early 70s or something like that. So we took it home and he rewrote in a language that the kids could understand. And when he went back, he read it to them as in, tell your mum this, and you go up to bam, 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 and the kids were made up. He's discovered Shakespeare through a Scouse translation.
Brilliant.
Fantastic, yeah.
Absolutely brilliant, that, because what you've got is a Scouser. As I said at the beginning, they asked me, they sent for me, they said, listen, we've listened to you about shit, because I gave a few lectures and Shakespeare came into it.
Yeah.
And they said, would you, if you've got any spare time, we've got 4 hours a week. I said, what for? What do you want to see me for? What do you want me to do? And I thought it would have been, will you do some local stuff, history? And they said, would you teach English, especially Shakespeare? And I said, can you give me more? They said, well, the title is English for the Terrified, because people are terrified of when, in the literature classes, Shakespeare comes up, then it'll be, oh, and they don't want to do it, and they won't come back. So I said, okay. He said, we've got a class in the morning, you're doing anything? I said, no. I said, I'm not working until 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, because he has a lecture, Romans. So I went in for them. And I just said about Shakespeare. I said, he's the greatest storyteller. I said, who likes Charles Dickens? Every hands went up. I said, well, there you go. I said, he's like him. He tells stories, but it's historical. That's what he does. And I mentioned, funny enough, Othello.
Well, you broke it down. You humanized it for them. So same as Alan, your copyist guy. It's like people are petrified because they believe they've got to follow a format that they're not aware of, they don't know, and they don't feel clever enough or bright enough to like him, but what you're doing is you break it down, you say, these are people, but he wasn't someone from 5 years ago. He's a guy from hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years ago.
What is remarkable is how much of his prose, his writings, that we adopted into our day-to-day language. Expressions, heart in the sleeve. Where's his heart in the sleeve? Shakespeare. All of that kind of one line.
Oh, like looking for a needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
That all we quote Shakespeare all the time.
From him, yeah.
And you know what? At the end of the that session, there was a caveat actually, and what it was, like they were going to see a play. They were going to see Othello.
Yeah.
I said, look, do yourselves. I wasn't doing it. I mentioned them, was mentioning every other play, and trying to break down the speeches and whatever.
Yeah.
What they meant in reality. So anyway, they were going to see. It was Othello. They were going to see that. I think it was on the Playhouse. I'm not quite too sure, but anyway, wherever it was. And I said, look, do yourselves a favour. I said, when are you going? He said, next week. Well, this was, I said, tomorrow, which was the Saturday. If you're in town, get yourself a notebook, Shakespeare, Othello, because you have to know the play before you watch it. You've got to know it, or you won't understand it. And he went, oh, but that was this turning point, because no one has ever told them that about anything.
Yeah.
And they were made up that they went down and got these notes.
Absolutely, they would be. I would be, because it's not an experience. Although it's grand and it looks so bespoke. It's if you haven't got an idea about the story, then the language of the time dictates what you're watching.
Oh yeah.
I remember, I think we talked last week, and I said the first proper play that I went to see as a kid was Macbeth, because we were studying it at the time, so I kind of had an idea, but it was absolutely riveting to see it being portrayed by an ensemble cast at our Empire Theatre. Wow!
Do you know the actor Simon Cowell?
Yes.
I went to see him about 4 or 5 times. He's been here, a few times, and he just stands on the stage alone, and he talks about Shakespeare, and he comes out with all these speeches and whatever. And it was great, just listening to him and breaking it down. Anyway, the caveat was, when I was doing, when I went in for that session, the people who, there was quite a number of people in the class. Shakespeare for the Terrified, the very first one. And they said, we don't want to go into the literature class with, this particular teacher. They were all mature people, And I said, no, I said, go and play. I said, I can't do it. I said, I'll break it down for you. There's no problem with that. And it'll be a lot easier. But they wouldn't have it. So anyway, they did show up. And the fella, whoever it was, and they said, it was easy because of what you told us to do. And breaking things down. So, it says it's, if you know a little bit about it, you're laughing. You're a step forward.
Yeah.
And when you've seen the play, you've gone right to the front.
Yeah.
You know about it.
Yeah.
Rather than just going in blind and, what they're saying and doing and having a clue. Anyway.
See, that's true. That's true of every play. If you're gonna, I always had this thing when I was younger, in the days where Hollywood was not so mass productive of classic stories. I always had this thing that read the book first, then see the film. Sometimes it became next to impossible because the films then began
totally different.
But it's something that always was got me thinking. And like history, and it's like tonight with us and our good chat. It's like anyone who thinks they know everything, then be surprised, because we don't. I don't. I am so looking forward to dipping in and out of stuff that some of it which we take for granted today, and some we're still discovering.
Yeah. So. See, when people read things, for example, they're enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. If they pick up Oliver Twist, they're reading, and they love Oliver Twist because it's a great read, great descriptive writing by the man himself. Yeah. But what they don't know the background is that Oliver Twist grew up in a workhouse. He was born in a workhouse. And yet, he has a little mate named Little Dick. And he spoke like that, hello. And you're going, Oliver, because he was little, he was a few years younger than Oliver. And yet, Oliver has a wide range vocabulary. And he could read and write. Yet there was no education in the workhouse. And then he got away, didn't he? He got away from that nasty Mr. Bumble and Mrs. Bumble. And he went to London, got to London. Point is, with the likes of no education, no nothing, people don't realise that at the time, the middle classes in the hierarchy, they really believed that if you were born into a middle class family, you didn't really need educating because it was already there from a baby. And they believed it. So as you're reading Oliver Twist, no one questions, well, how come he can read and write? You see?
Yeah.
That's the way it was. It was historical. It was an historical fact that do you know what they believed in? Forget what you call it. There's a phrenology. Do you know the bumps in your head? The more bumps you had in on your skull, the more clever you were. And Charles Dickens believed in that, by the way. So we had to make for the ordinary people, because it was a social comment. He had to make Oliver Twist middle class. He had to make them middle class so that middle class people would read it. Do you know the periodicals?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's that old crux, isn't it, of compromising your work. Shakespeare would have had to do it. Dickens certainly did, and all the greats, anyone that we could mention, would have had to compromise their work to get it out into the public arena, because there would be a army of publishers and hierarchy who said, no, really not interested in a story about a scruffy working class lad. No, wouldn't he? It's like, but he got through that. He knew that because he came from that background. Dickens, I'm talking about. He came from that so far removed from privilege background, hard working, crime, dirt, poverty, and then he thought, the only way I'm going to get my work out there is to not pretend, but to kind of compromise with these people.
Do you know what? There's a great parallel with Dickens and Shakespeare, but it comes from Macbeth.
Yeah.
It's not like all of a sudden you've got Dickens reading the likes of most probably did all the works and his contemporaries' works, but is the parallel, and it's a cracking parallel, and that's what I mean about Shakespeare. This is what I mean about Macbeth, and you had Lady Macbeth, and Macbeth himself, and he just killed Duncan.
Yeah.
And Lady Macbeth, now she coerced him. She said, "Go on, kill him. You be king. Everyone will be loving you." Now, don't forget as well that Duncan, King Duncan, was the cousin of Macbeth. He was the cousin. Anyway, after they kill him, or after Macbeth kills him, Lady Macbeth keeps looking at her hands. And she's going, out, damn spot. You know, the blood.
Yeah.
Out, damn spot. Yet, Macbeth has the blood on his hands. But it's not a spot. And he looks at his hands and he says, all the oceans of Neptune cannot wash away this evil deed. So you see the difference between the spot,
yeah,
and out, damn spot,
yeah,
with a little handkerchief.
yeah.
Two,
Where
the blood of Neptune's, oceans of Neptune cannot wash away this evil deed. The blood on his hands. So you see the big difference. Now here's where it's parallel.
Yeah.
Here's where it's parallel to Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
You know that his dad was a spendthrift.
Yeah.
And he was sent to prison. And once you're sent to prison for, debtor's prison, that is, you have to bring your family.
Yeah.
You have to bring your family. Even Dickens highlighted it in Scrooge, A Christmas Carol, because this fella goes up to him and said, listen, I owe you this money. He said, but it'll be me and my wife and kids that'll have to go. He said, you borrowed it, not your wife. Why should she go to jail? You borrowed it. That was Scrooge to the man.
Yeah.
So anyway, when he was only a young man, Dickens, and he had to go out from the debtor's prison each day and work in a blackening factory. And he used to come home and he used to wash his hands. He used to wash his hands until that ink or the dye was off his hands. But that just never stopped there. That went through his whole life. He washed his hands 30 times a day. And he was looking at it. And he's washing his hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, isn't a parallel to Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. Washing his hands. Yeah. As Macbeth said, this evil deed cannot wash away.
Yeah.
All the Neptune oceans cannot wash away this evil deed. So you see, that blackening factory played it on his mind.
Yes.
Played on his mind.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah.
You
never get away from it.
No.
I mean, it's like the good and the bad about those who are proud to come from working class families, and those who struggle with that concept and want to forget that and say, well, I've got a posh job now and a big car, so we're now middle class. So there's all of that, And I think it was Shakespeare himself, one of his quotes, which you and I both used a lot, is "Be true to thine old self."
Yes.
No.
Exactly. Do you know what? Oh, sorry, go on, Anthony.
Oh, just put all of that angst to rest. Just be proud of who you are, whatever you are, wherever you're from.
Exactly. And these are the things that portray great literature writers.
Yes.
It's like, can I just pick something out?
Yeah.
And it's Thomas Hardy, and this is historical. And he wrote a poem on the last day of 1900. 1900. And And he was actually standing where, when it all came to him. And he said, I leant upon a copper skate when frost was spectre grey. The winter dregs made desolate the weakening eye of day. The tangled vine stems scored the sky like strings of broken lyres, and all mankind had sorted nigh their household fires. Now, what he was reflecting on the century just gone, and as he called it, the corpse outlined, and the wind, the last lament. The wind of the century, the last lament. Now, he was all pessimistic, for that century. And when you look at the wars and everything else that was going on during the 1800s, so the 20th century, he looked forward to it. 1900, he looked forward to it.
Yeah.
But did he?
Yeah.
But did he? Because as he was thinking, and I met, again, the corpse outlined, he looked at the century and the corpse outlined. And what was going on at the time was the Boer War. The Boer War was going on. And he was saying, we're never going to get away from wars. We're never going to get away. Until a little old, gaunt, beruffled thrush came along, and it was on a branch, and it was cheery. It was old, and it was gaunt, and it was all, the feathers were all over the place. Yet it was screaming out optimism for the new century.
Yeah.
You see, so if a little creature like that can come along and give you, do you know what? It's like a dog. It's like a cat. People, you see people, I stream all over the world, and you see people with dogs. You don't see them with cats, because cats, cats are different from dogs, but you see them walking the dogs.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world. Everywhere in the world. So that inspires them. Believe it or not, animals inspire. So what you've got the likes of this little beruffled, old, gaunt thrush, blasting out optimism. But unfortunately, there was no optimism, was there? Because then we came in, the ending of the Boer War came right up. Then there was a First World War. Then we had the war between the Reds and the Whites of America, Britain.
But that's the great reminder what you just said then, and he's using the bird as the open window, the way out. It's humanity. It's humanity. It's like just stopping, take a breath, just like things are good, the sun's shining, or the snow's falling, or the things that make us humans feel comforted.
Yeah.
And
you know another thing about Hardy? When he wrote some great books,
Yeah.
Like Far From the Madding Crowd. Anyway, when he wrote Tessa the D'Urbervilles, he actually fell in love with the fictional character. He fell in love with it.
Wow.
And he had to kill her. He had to end her life in the novel.
Wow.
He had to end her. because he said, I can't go on. He actually fell in love with it, right? And you can actually see that in the right.
You know what? That opens up a total other door of writers across history, including including the Sherlock stories, including all of that. It's the attachment.
Yeah.
Because they see them first in mind, and Dickens would have done the same, because Dickens' characters are recognizable. We could walk down Church Street and you could say, oh, that's like so-and-so, and that's like so-and-so, because of the way he described them.
Yeah.
The walk, the limp, everything. Yeah. So he must have got so emotive about some of those characters. And certainly when Arthur Conan Doyle it got too much for him and he was going to kill Sherlock off, well, he did.
Yeah.
And then there was such
an outcry.
People.
Yeah, outcry. And all of a sudden he brought him back to, I forget what waterfall, it was in Germany, wasn't it, when Moriarty,
Down the waterfall, yeah, that's right.
Killed him. But, when he kills her off, he never has written another prose project again. He never written another book again. He only ever carries on with poetry. That's all he ever did.
Maybe
just written poetry.
It just takes it out of you, takes you out of you. It's like running up that hill, and then at the end of it, you've got no breath left. You've given everything you can.
No. So we see what the crowds are saying.
Yeah.
Toscana to Barry. Happy birthday to your good lady.
Oh.
Isn't that lovely?
Happy birthday, Mrs. Aldridge.
And Barry says, I'll tell you when I'm next in Salem. Maybe we can arrange something. Don't know how you keep so much knowledge in that head. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely, Lynn. Evening, Frank and Anthony. That's lovely.
Good evening, Lynn.
That's lovely, thank you. And Toscana reads Auntie, it was me. I used to tell my dad Dante had discovered magic mushrooms. I honestly thought the man was nuts. Tell them about Dante. Because Dante, he was the sort of, I don't know, would you say what Toscana said? I thought he was nuts.
Well, there's so many people who, put the hand up to that. I don't mind putting my hand up to that. I'd rather that than be thought of as, he's a nice, normal chap. No.
I'll tell you something. We love Blake, don't we?
Yeah.
We love Blake. Now, Blake, people think that he just had written poetry and whatever, and he didn't. He was a great artist. And he wrote something called, Painted, and the Book of Tell. Now, the Book of Tell is spelled T-H-A-L-L, because what he's saying is the Book of Hell. Yeah. That's what he's talking about, the Book of Hell, the Book of Tell, right? Hell, because he does all these creatures.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But he wasn't only like doing, he was saying the country was hell. And
Yeah.
people, like the Songs of Innocence and Experience, where he was writing about the innocence, then he went on to the experience of children and men, you know, and it was very hard hitting.
Yeah.
Then when he wrote this book of Tell, you know, it did fool, like Shakespeare fooled the hierarchy, you know, the establishment with his writings of outside history, like Macbeth, like Othello, like Hamlet.
Yeah.
You see, he was
Absolutely.
fooling but so was Blake.
Yeah.
Blake was fooling everyone.
Well, Blake was being himself, wasn't he?
Yeah, of course.
And
Like you're yourself and myself.
Yeah, but well, it kind of not changed greatly, but there's a point where you're not allowed to be, as you had the sly dig. You go far, just lose that accent. Going back to Blake's day, Blake, very working class. He only got into the hierarchy by his talent, sheer talent of art. And then he got a place in the Royal School of Art. And when he got in there, he thought, I don't like it in here. These are all the same beasts. They're all the same. Do that. Everyone's the same. A school full of like-minded people.
Robots.
Yes, absolutely. And that has not changed. But what did he do? He just said, nah, sod this for a game of soldiers. I'm going to go and do my own thing. And he did. And then they laughed at him. They mocked him. They pushed him outside of their circle, as they do. You know, you're not one of the clique. And then he just quietly attained greatness.
Yes.
What he did.
Yes. It's just like the other great poet, John Keats. Now, Keats, when you look at
Yeah.
even I think I mentioned this to you. I don't know whether we were talking privately, but when I mentioned it on here, you know, historically, when Wordsworth, for example, heard about the assassination of Sir Spencer Perceval, the Liverpool Prime Minister, by John Bellingham, the fellow from Duke Street,
Yeah.
he thought that it was the first shot of the revolution. So there was lots of revolutions going around.
Yeah.
So how historical was that? That's why they had to convict him. They arrested him, convicted him, and hanged him all in 1 week because they didn't want crowds, because crowds started to gather outside Newgate where he was going to be executed. They said, let's get it done and over with.
Yeah.
Send them all home. And that's how it stopped. So how historical was that?
Absolutely. No, bang on. And over many generations, there's been that kind of just on the tip of revolution. And William Blake, ironically, was possibly the greatest wordsmith of that, and the power that he put into those words still echoes now. You know.
Of course it does. And it's like, you know, people think that these are all like arty type people, which they were, you know, don't get me wrong. But you had arty types, if you know what I mean. And you had the likes of John Keats. Now, John Keats had seen his brother die at the age of 21. So he wrote a poem called Ode to a Nightingale. Now, everybody at the time went, oh, you can't write about that because Nightingale was unlucky to some, to poets and whatever, because they wrote about, it's the other fella writing about a thrush, and he wrote about doves and lovely other little creatures. But a nightingale, whoa. But anyway, he wrote, and he was sitting in a mate's garden, and he was just looking. And this is why he wrote about a nightingale. Now, he was drinking wine. He was drinking wine. French wine, by the way. So he was drinking that. And he started to become, and he was just thinking about his brother, 21 years. He had consumption, tuberculosis. And this is what he was suffering from. And he was looking at the trees, and he seen this bird, and it was chirping away. And if you ever read Ode to a Nightingale, it's Jason. It's Jason in today. Normally we have a break, don't we?
Yeah.
But I'll get it. I'll just read a little bit.
Yeah.
Of Keats's Ode to a Nightingale. Only a small piece. And it gives you what was happening at the time with Keats and why he was looking at this bird. That was unlucky, to some, because they were in shock. No, you can't write about a nightingale. So if our Jason's in,
well, how again, Frank, to use that nature as a prop?
Yeah, that's what he was using.
To connect with the wider people.
Yeah, well, it's just same as art.
Yeah.
With the darkling thrush.
Yeah.
We used a little creature.
Yeah.
A little creature full of, as they called it, their even song.
Yeah.
Blasting it out like a hymn.
Yeah.
Blasting out the optimism for the new century.
Yeah.
You see, so it's things. Go on.
Across the pond, across the water, 1835, 1840, Edgar Allan Poe did the same thing, but in a dark, somber tone, and he used the raven, which is the crow family.
Tell him who's on the raven.
Oh,
come on!
Oh, beautiful! Man, and his name's just gone. The brothers, Liverpool brothers, almost lived on the streets.
Lived on the streets, and they came from the bottom end of Scotland Road.
James William Carling.
James Carlyle.
And his work is still in the Poe Museum in Virginia. So any fans who visit that can go and see the wonderful talent of our very own James William Carling.
And he was born the bottom end of Scotland Road.
Yeah.
And actually, it's terrible where he was born. I mean, it's at the street. And it was called Cow Lane. Because I'll tell you exactly where it was. Do you know Cow Lane? It was where the people used to bring the cows. So he called it Cow Lane. And do you know where John Moores University is? The bottom of Scotland Road. Leeds. It's by the Mitre. It's by the Mitre pub.
Wow.
Just a little bit further down, towards Scotland Road. Just a bit further down.
Yeah.
And it's up there. That was Carlyle. And you know, to think that he got nicked, didn't he, for street art, and then he went to America.
His brother Henry, who was over there, had gone emigrated before. I think he got lucky, got a few bob and went there, and then made a life for himself. Said to him, "Listen, it's great over there. Get over there. You know, your art will be appreciated." And he did. Whatever way, he as you describe, he worked on the streets and he drawing, and the sailors would get off the boat and walk through and throw a tanner or a whatever.
Whatever, yeah. But the thing is, the police thought that was begging.
Yeah.
And a legislation came out for begging.
Yeah.
Can I just say hello to these? But I want to go on about what has happened to James Carlyle. Love him, you know. Toscana. Good day, Anthony. Hope you're well.
Good day, Toscana. Thank you. I am very well, in fantastic company, so it wouldn't be.
Christopher. Hi, Frank and Anthony and everyone. Like and subscribe.
Is the way to go.
Do you know where I'm going on Sunday?
Go on, where?
You're going to like this. I just as John and Jamestown, you know our Jarrett's lads?
Yeah.
And he said, listen, I'm coming down for you. You're going up to meet dad and mum's on Sunday.
Oh, how fantastic is that? Oh, brilliant.
They gave me a great message from them, you know, from themselves.
Yeah.
James, and he said, we can't go through this.
Oh,
We can't go through this. He said it more than, you know, they used all these words. He said, we're coming down for you on Sunday. My dad wants to see you and me mum.
Fantastic.
So that's where I'm heading, up there. I might get him on here. Because of it. They won't call me Jez Lynham, then they'll call Jared Jez Lynham, you know, the footy show. Barry says, thank you, Toscana. She's only 65 because she said good, you know, happy birthday to you, good lady. He said, thank you, Toscana. She's only 65, doesn't look it. Lucky to have it. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah.
I love things like that, you know. I really do. I really do. These are why these people are so lovely. They were in themselves. And Johann was by the century's deathbed by Hardy a reflection of the past or prophecy or, reflection of the past or a prophecy for the future.
Sure.
His words are valid even. Yeah, I made up you said that because everything that people, we haven't even touched on Jules Verne.
Yeah.
Jules Verne.
George Orwell.
H.G. Wells, George Orwell. These are all great visionaries. Shakespeare was a visionary. Dickens was a visionary. And even Charlotte Bronte. They were people who gave out a social comment. That's what they did.
Yeah.
So they all wanted a better life for people.
And they all imagined a life well in the future that we grew to see. Walk through. How many
but we're going around in circles, though, Anthony.
Yeah.
Aren't we? It's just a circle. There's nothing changed. The only thing that's changed, obviously, is technology and whatever, you know, as the years roll on.
Yeah.
That's all. But people don't. People don't. Don't forget. As the blood runs down palace walls, and he was brought up for sedition, and he could have easily have been hanged for that, William Blake.
Yes. Yeah.
So you can't question what the state is doing, even today. You can't. You can't mention a certain country unless you're labelled that certain label that we all seem to get. We all seem to be tarnished with.
Well, that's
Anyway.
the beauty of history has proved them all right.
Of course. Of course.
And including Shakespeare, and quite rightly, as you said before, Shakespeare was sailing close to the wind. Like that stuff. Are you writing about me there? Are you writing about the king? Are you writing? Gone.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Christopher Marlowe. He was, because really, they said he was writing about the devil, and we can't have writing about devils and all this. It was simply because he was a homosexual, and they couldn't have that. So he got at this agent, and he said, "Listen, he drinks in such a place. Go down, pick a fight with him, and kill him." That was the orders for Christopher Marlowe in 1594, and he done him in. And what has happened to the agent? He was arrested. Oh, look, he's arrested. And he was brought off. Never went to jail or anything. Then he had to go to court. And he was fined $1. And the government paid that $1. So, people, but, he defied all that. He defied Shakespeare. So did Cyril Tourneur. Now, Tourneur, he wrote a thing called A Revenger's Tragedy. Now, I did that in my literature class, taught that, and people had never heard of him. But Shakespeare, that's Cyril Tourneur, fantastic, about revenge. This fella going after revenge. Now, Shakespeare's very first play was Titus Andronicus, and it was very bloody. It was very, very bloody. So he sat back and he went, "There's too much of that." So he calmed his plays down. Say the likes of Macbeth, the likes of Othello, the likes of Hamlet, all these bloody things, even Henry V. But he had something nasty said, and he was a bit panicky in Henry V. And I was at a place called Harfleur. Now, Harfleur, all the French soldiers were out and about, they were fighting the English. And he got there with his soldiers, and all the big doors were locked. And he said to these older men who was, protecting, the kid, the women and children, the wives, they were being protected. And he said, now don't forget, Henry V was supposed to be a wonderful king, and he married Catherine, French girl. But he was such a wonderful king. But he's fucking ruthless. And he said, "If you don't open the gates, we will burst the gates open. My men haven't seen a woman for months, and they're all raring to go. And if you don't open the doors, we will bust them down and we will rape your women and kill your children, put them to the sword. So you see, he did that, but he thought I could get into a lot of trouble because it was printed by them. But he wasn't. So he wasn't really, all for the state.
No.
He wasn't all for the state. As I said, there is something rotten in the state of Denmark. No,
Yeah.
something rotten in the state of England. That's what it was.
And like generations later, it's kind of like Dickens, who lived amongst it, so he knows both sides of the coin, and George Orwell, who chose to live a lot of his life on the streets while he was compiling ideas and stuff, and wrote his masterpieces in solitude. He didn't see the bling and the hierarchy and the dancing at the ball, and
No, he didn't. And do you know Keats?
Yeah.
Keats, after he had written Ode to a Nightingale, he really was going worse. And his physician sent him over. He said, look, you'll have to go to a warmer climate. So we went to Rome. Now you've got the Spanish Steps there. And at the bottom, if you're looking up, say, get the image of looking up at the Spanish Steps. On the left, right at the bottom, on the left, you had a door, and it was a home, and that was Percy Bysshe Shelley's home. Percy Bysshe. And on the right, at the bottom of the steps, you had another door and another home, and that was John Keats's home. And I've been in both the museums, and I've been in both. Now, what they used to do, the two of them used to get up, right, and meet. They used to meet and sit at the bottom of the Spanish Steps talking about poetry, talking about life.
Yeah.
And he wrote to his Fanny Braun, his girlfriend. He loved her. Oh, he loved her. And he said, because he used to go for walks every day. He used to go for walks, sometimes with Percy Bysshe. But anyway, he wrote to her, and it turned out to be his last letter. And he said, I have two luxuries on my walks. Your beauty at the hour of my death. Oh, to have both of them. That's a quote. That's his letter. Could you imagine Fanny Braun getting this letter, opening it, reading the letter and coming to that? Oh, to have them both at the hour of my death. That was his luxury. That's what kind of people they are.
Yeah.
That's why the poetry is so flowing.
Poignant. It touches the heart because it's from the heart.
Yeah.
Not just the poets who I totally agree with you, but also our great literature writers. They do something special because they are close to an edge, which is not normality, and it's not living in luxury, and it's not about that side of life. It's about real life. It's about life and death. No.
Yes, it is about life and death. And we go through it.
Yeah.
And he died when he was 24 years of age. And look what he did. The Anfield Road. Even if Frankie and Anthony, and look at all them scotches for you, and look at that little soft drink for me in the middle.
Thank you, Rod. That's brilliant. We're going to extend the break for another.
He carries on by saying, even in chat, look at all them pint scotches.
Chat will join us.
And Yoa. Even in Raw. All them pints.
Brilliant.
And look, they're all letting on. Look at that. All right, Rod. I hope you're well. That's lovely, that, from Barry to the Anfield. Perhaps the play was brutal, says Johan, because the times were brutal. He must have surely learned how to self-censor to reach a wider audience whilst getting his message out. See, look, Shakespeare, I'm going to read you something. It's not Shakespeare. It's not literature. This is by a scribe. This is by a Liverpool scribe called Thomas Churchyard. And he went over with Sir Humphrey Gilbert. Now, this is historical. Just let me read. It's only what Sir Humphrey Gilbert did to the Irish. I hope I think that. Yep, got it. And he wrote this. And this is the exact quote what Thomas Churchyard wrote. What
Sir Humphrey,
I couldn't get his name on. Sir Humphrey Gilbert, he sent to a fella by the name of Sidney. And Sidney wrote, what did he write? He wrote The Fairy Queen. No, that was Sir Edward. I always forget his bloody name. Anyway, that's by the by. But anyway, he wrote this to Sidney. He wrote this, not a soldier. I slew all of those from time to time that dead belong to, accompany, or maintain any outlaws or traitors, and after my first summoning of any castle or fort, if they would not presently yield it, I would not afterwards take it of their gift, but won it perforce, how many lives soever it cost, putting man, woman, and child of them to the sword. And he did, because he had a lane of tents half a mile long, as he, as people were going up, just ordinary people who had a little plot of land. They lived off the land, the Irish. And that's where you get, how can I say this? Do you know when we were growing up, there used to be knocks on the door. Have you got a lens of, have you got any bread in? Have you got any sugar? Have you got a drop of milk to lend us? Even I used to have to go and knock on the door. Oh, Mrs. Such a body. My mum said, have you got a couple of eggs? If you know. that came from the Irish.
Yeah.
Because each farm, if there was a certain thing, they used to go and help. If there was certain shortage, they used to help them, put it all there for them. That's what they did. That's what they did. So anyway, these farmers, they were going up that lane to say, there's our land. Every head was spiked, and it was looking up. So as you walked, you were looking down. You never seen the top of a head or the back of a head. You seen the face looking at you. You were looking down at their faces because they were spiked that way. That's what he was doing. Sir Thomas Churchyard, I'm sure he wrote about this, the Liverpool scribe. Do you know who was good to the Irish during the time of the famine? Why is it that potato famine? George Bernard Shaw says, how could there be a famine when the country was full of food?
Yeah, was no famine.
Of course there wasn't. But anyway, when you get the likes of Thomas Churchill, and you get the likes of what the English were doing to these people, ordinary people, it was shocking.
Yeah.
But you don't get enough said about what was going on. You get the likes of Shakespeare, who says what was going on. Shakespeare said.
Yeah.
Shakespeare did as in Macbeth about the plight of the Catholics. Remember the poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and has heard no more? It's a tale told by an idiot full of sounds of fury, signifying nothing.
Yeah.
And that was Robert Cecil.
Yeah.
Let's see what Jason's after there. Yeah, look, there's that poem that I mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Now look at that. As I said about the first two stanzas there. But when you read the third stanza, as it says, the land's sharp features seem to be the century's corpse outlined, is crypt the cloudy canopy, the wind is death lament. That's how he viewed the 1800s. It was just full of death and wars.
Yeah.
And there was a war, as I said, that was going on. Yeah, and I looked at where it says, an aged thrush, frail and gaunt and small in blast beruffled plume, had chosen thus to fling his soul upon the growing gloom. So little cause for carolings of such ecstatic sound was written on terrestrial things afar or nigh around, that I could think there trembled through his happy good night air some blessed hope whereof he knew, and I was unaware. Isn't that brilliant?
It is brilliant.
And that's a little creature who has more humanity in its little frame than the humans themselves.
Yeah. I think that's what he's underlining.
Oh, he's
Too,
yeah.
Goes on with the other greats.
Yeah.
The power is in the words.
Yeah. And this is why I hope the people are enjoying this, because you've got to know about these things. You really are.
Well, it's kind of, for us as well as history, we hope that it will inspire all of us. And there could be lots of comments coming in of the lads and
Well,
girls.
your man says, let's just take about, there are two things. One, at the time, Thomas Churchyard wrote, now, you've got to take the times as it was. You're talking like 1566. And the battles were so brutal. Brutal. You have this like ball and chain, what they have. And they've got spikes on it. Now, if you were a bowman, or even a fellow with a shot and you kills your enemy, that fella is just lying down with a big arrow in him. The helmet would be taken off him, the dead lad, and he'd get that thing, the little handle with the little chain and the ball on, and smash his head until it's just everywhere. Other times, what they used to do was chop off the legs and arms, and that was identified really in a Monty Python film, where you see a knight and he's standing there, and these fellas come up on horses, and he says, "You shall not pass." And then there's a big skirmish, and he cuts his arm off, and he puts his sword in the good arm, and he said, "You cannot pass." And then he cut that arm off, and you see him, and he said, "You're not passing." So he cut his legs off.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was. You might think that was like, people must have thought, "Oh, that was funny," wasn't it? Wasn't. That's the way it was. To make sure you were dead. Now, here's what he said. Can I just read this? It's only what Johan says about being brutal. It says here, as Colonel of the Army in Munster, he was in command of operations and conducted them with such ferocity and such contempt for the Irish as to shock even those accustomed to the brutality of welfare at the time. He deliberately killed women and children along with their men and laid waste the land in order to cause famine. So that was, like Thomas Churchyard had seen all this before, but he'd never seen the brutality like this. And it was to give them a lesson. It goes today when they say, war is strength. This is what's coming out today. War is strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
How? So, so that's what Johan says anyway, perhaps the play was brutal because the times were brutal. Your first sentence there sums everything up, Johan. It was brutal. But what's more brutal now? Just bear with me for this. I hope I've got it. Hope I have. Forgot my phone again. was running around. When our John and James came, they left the door open, and I hate flies. Anyway, a fly was there. I should have seen it. We can't let her get it. Got a fly catcher, and it killed it. But I'll have to get it before I go to bed. Just bear with me on it, please. Just bear, I hope you get it. Can't get it. I cannot get it. Do you know what? I think it's being taken down, by certain people. I really do. I really do, because I wanted to show you. And what it is, it's you just see a little girl, a little Palestinian, beautiful little child, and obviously someone got her out of there and got her here, or wherever it is. But she's got one leg. And that's what's going on in the world today.
Yeah.
And there's no one helping.
No.
I think they've taken it down, because I made a comment. So I could get myself into trouble. I just wish that we could all be, you know what I mean. Can't get it. I think it's been taken down.
See, that's the other historic atrocity which is happening, the censorship. We have it in Blake's day, we have it in Shakespeare's day, and we had it in the First World War, and that's when, God love him, the likes of Wilfred Owen said, you might stop me putting it out there, but I'm going to write it down. And then I think it was 20 years after his death that his poems came out.
Yes.
Censorship is as powerful as a
It was 11 years, Anthony, before they were published, because they didn't want to show the people the horrors of war.
Yeah.
And when you look at the horrors of war, you even had Siegfried Sassoon, who was a Jew in the First World War. British, fighting for the British. But we were fighting a good thing. And he wrote a poem and a line in it. Now, don't forget he's Jewish. And at the end of the poem, it says, "Oh, Jesus, please make it stop. And if you think about that, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
He's pleading to Jesus to make it stop. A Jew, Siegfried to see. They were all lads hitting. You had the likes of George. Look at Johan there, look. War is strength. Sounds a lot like Orwell's. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. Now, the ignorance that is strength. I remember saying to someone, I really did, and I did say to someone, and I don't know whether I said it to you, I ain't knowing what I know. I just wish I didn't know what I know.
Yeah. That's the problem. When you someone, and I forget his name and I will find out, was talking about art, and he said, painting pictures is easy when you don't know how. So much harder when you do. And that's what you're saying, is that's life.
Yes.
Knowledge. The more I'm the same because I am very much a proud student of yours. We're friends for forever. But you send me on a journey and I'll go and do some reading, and I think, I didn't know that. I should have known that, but I don't. And
Exactly.
the expression used to be, ignorance is bliss, wasn't it?
Well, that's it. Ignorance is bliss. That's what he said. Ignorance is strength.
Yeah.
That's what Orwell is saying. Because the least you know, the better. But the more you know is heartbreaking.
Yes. Yes.
It is. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And what's today? You've got pictures now. You can see pictures. Like of that little girl with one leg, little child. And she's holding a little, fluffy little teddy bear or something, little thing. It's just looking like that. And, there was a poem, a war poem, First World War. And there was a fellow there named Mackenzie, and he wrote it. He went to this fella. He never got to know his men. Every time they were going up, he was being greeted with new men because they were all being killed around him. No, he was the trench officer, and he was going all over the top. He never blew the whistle and stayed in the one spot, in the trench. He went over with them. And they were always being killed. He got to know nobody. So anyway, these lads were all killed. And he got back to his trench and he wrote a poem. He wrote a poem about them. And he said, so then he wrote to each lad's parents, saying, what a lovely soldier, brave soldier your son was, or your husband was, or whatever. So anyway, this time, and he was going on leave, and he had all the letters. And he went, Anthony, and handed the letters. He went to all the addresses, all over the place. And he's given the letters out. And he got to this fella, and he was walking, and it was hedgerows everywhere, and it was in the open countryside. And as he walked around the corner of this, hedgerows and dry brick wall, stone wall, not brick, stone wall, he seen this old man sitting on the stone wall, and his head was down. And as he looked, it was a little farm, and all the ground and everything was unkempt. It was unkempt. So by the time he got to this old man, he said, "Excuse me, do you know a Mr. Jones, David Jones?" He said, "Yes, I'm David Jones." And he said, "I'm so sorry about your son," because he'd already been notified that his son was dead. You see what I mean? Telegram.
Yeah.
So he said, "I was his officer," he said. And rather than post a letter, I'm handing it to other people. He said, "Is your wife home?" He said, "No, my wife's dead." He said, I only had David. And he just looked at him, and he put his hand on his shoulder and saluted him and walked away. And one last look he gave before he went around that bend. He seen the old man who opened the letter, obviously, and he was crying into it. He was crying into the letter. You know what he wrote?
Yeah.
So we got back. He got back. And he wrote this poem. Shall I read it out?
Yes.
I'll recite it now. I haven't got it with me. But anyway, he said, "So you were David's father, and he was your only son, and the new cut peats are rotting, and the workers are left undone, because of an old man weeping, just an old man in pain, for David, his son David, that will not come home again. Oh, the letters he wrote you, and I can see them still, and not a word of the fighting, but just the sheep on the hill. And now you shall get the crops in. Here the storm gets stormier, and the Boche have got his body, and I was his officer. You were only David's father, but I had 50 sons when we went up in the evening under the arch of the guns. And when we came back at twilight, oh God, I heard them call to me for help and pity. That could not help at all. Oh, never will I forget you, my men that trusted me, more my sons than your fathers, for they could only see the little helpless babies and the young men in their pride. They could not see you dying and hold you while you died. Happy and young and gallant, they saw their firstborn go, but not the strong limbs broken and the beautiful men brought low. The piteous writhing bodies, they screamed, help me, sir. They were only your fathers, but I was your officer. That's what he wrote.
Wow.
Powerful poem.
Very powerful.
That wasn't published either, like the other poem.
Power of the written word, Frank, again.
He was killed 3 weeks later. The lads who wrote the poem.
Yeah.
And they're the type of, it's the type of literature that's extremely, historical. what was happening.
Yeah. One of the most powerful ones I've heard you recite is Rudyard Kipling's.
Wow, that's the most damning. These are for the kids and people who had, grown men who had a disability and their dads. That's a sign. The ladies weren't, the mothers weren't, or the wives weren't, whatever. They couldn't sign. It had to be the father, the dad, to say, yeah, my son's okay. Yeah, my son is 16, which he wasn't 16, he was only 14 and 15. Oh, yeah, my son is okay, his arm is okay, but he hasn't got a bloody arm. And that's what it was like. My son is a great runner. Yeah, oh, he's a great runner. He can get up and run across the lines and whatever. Could even walk like me, like you. And Rudyard Kipling wrote, if any question why we died, tell them because our fathers lied. He lived with that for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
How many other dads lived with that for the rest of their lives by sending their disabled sons who just wanted to have a go at the Germans?
Do their best.
And kids, little kids. Oh, it's just sickening, Anthony. If we, but it's going on today. It's going on.
Yeah.
It shows you though, doesn't it? The way literature works.
Yes. It becomes an anchor and you go back to it. It holds you in a place with the lies, the truth, everything is out, exposed.
Everything.
Couldn't imagine without it. And we're living on someone else's version of history and the truth and the King's book or this or that.
I think as well, you've got heroes, proper heroes, who deserve the title of being heroes. But you've got other people who should be heroes, but never been recognised. I know a lady, she's a friend of mine, and her and her husband go over to India and spend months there, and she helps the poor in India. And she's made friends over there, and she'll never be recognised. She only came from Scotty Road. And, she'll never be recognised. And when you get this, these people who go and there's loads of them. There's loads of them. But you get people who thrive on recognition. They're not heroes to me.
No.
They are not heroes. They thrive on it. They, want to be there. Like that David Beckham. He lives in America. He's made more out of what he does today than he ever did playing football. And he got a knighthood. I'm not just saying him, the likes of Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
Lives in the south of France. Lived there for many, many, many years. So, I'm against all that gun thing.
Yeah.
What about where is Shakespeare there, look?
No, I mean, it's like every walk of society is warped because there's a hierarchy. I personally think the whole award trinket association, the King's trinkets and the whatever MBEs, OBEs, what they have, just abolish it. What? Because like you said, there's a token real hero who might get a gong or a trinket, but the real people don't get it.
They don't. They don't, unfortunately. Do you know what? Say, look, we do a history show. We do, I do a current affairs, what's going on in the world today.
Yeah.
Do a football thing. Now we're going to do this. I even do a film, as you know, film and TV.
Yeah.
Point is, Anthony, if you understand literature, you will understand history.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
You get to know the background.
Yeah.
You get to know the backgrounds of other people. I mentioned John Keats before. There's a fellow named Robert Browning, one of the great poets.
Yeah.
Oh, to be in England now that spring is here. He was sojourning over in Europe somewhere. And it became spring, and he said, oh, to be in England now that spring is here. So he was married to Elizabeth Barrett Browning, who wrote one of the greatest poems ever, Aurora Leigh, about a little girl. Her parents, she had an English dad and an Italian mother. True, it's true. And they went over to Italy to live, when they got married, and she was born. So she was a little Italian girl. And unfortunately, at the age of 11, both of them had died. So her auntie, who lived in this country, brought her over. And her auntie put her in the school. And this is like the likes of what? The wonderful Charlotte Bronte wanted to, about Jane Eyre.
Yeah.
The education system was terrible in this country unless you paid. Even if you paid, it was awful. By the time you grew up a little bit older, went to university, that's where you got the proper education for the elite, and it still goes on today. But anyway, this Aurora Leigh knew more about everything than the teacher. Because what the teachers would only do, and then with the 3 R's, that was arithmetic, religion, and writing, known as the 3 R's. That's all kids were ever taught. And yes, she knew the histories, she knew geography, she knew everything. That child knew. And that poem explains it all. Aurora Leigh. Brilliant, brilliant poem. Now, here's the crux of this. Elizabeth Barrett Browning was disabled. She couldn't walk. And someone said to Robert one day, "Why are you doing that? Why are you with her? She can't walk." And it's just like anything. There was a song once called "Love is a Many Splendid Thing."
Yeah.
And that is what he said. He never said love is a many splendid thing. But what he said was, who else can I love? There's no one. There's no one like Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Whether she can walk or not. You see, so that's a deep love. That's like I have two luxuries in during my walks, your beauty at the hour of my death. Oh, if I could only have them both at the same time. You know, it was totally different back in the day. You had a fellow by the name, a great philosopher, by the name of John Stuart Mill, English. And he wanted the emancipation of women. Nothing happened. As I said, I love women. I love Mary Wollstonecraft. Love her. She was a great, 100 years before the suffrage movement, she was going.
Yeah.
That was Mary Shelley's mother.
Yeah. A truly remarkable, amazing lady.
Yeah. And yet women seem to be forgotten.
They do. And given the fact that you've logged there that her daughter became famous through her writings, possibly would we have known about her mother? We didn't. It's that thing that there's so much which is scripted but not by us,
No.
by life. So the only way that we get to know the truth is through literature, through the written word, whether it be a scribe, as you described before, or someone who achieves a public recognition for their writings. And then the messages can come through. Songwriting, lyricists.
Yeah, you talk about, you've only got to look at Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah.
Now, if you mention Leonardo, people who know, I'm only saying this, will go, oh yeah, the Mona Lisa, La Gioconda. Now, that's all they've known by. They don't know his other way if they fell over it.
Philosophy.
They don't know what kind of a fella he was.
No, they don't. Amazing, humble, genius, came from nothing, didn't have the education, didn't have the scholarships, the awards through education. He just did what he loved. He spent time with nature, got a placement in a studio, courtesy his father. And before you know it, he was better than the tutor. And then he went his own way. It took years and years and years for them to transcribe his notebooks, which were, of course, all written back to front, backwards.
Yeah.
So no one could understand them unless you put them in front of a mirror.
That's how the genius. Johan says, heart-wrenching poem that about the officer and the dad. Works of art like that will always be timeless and much more expose the atrocities.
Yeah.
He carries on by saying, show that poem to Lindsay Graham, Frank. Perhaps he'll grow a heart under that reptilian skin. I don't think that.
Lindsay Graham's not in front of a gun. He'll send hundreds of thousands of other people.
And Johan, I was defensive about David Beckham's knighthood the last time, but as much as he is a player I admire, I'd rather not associate with that level of vanity. Anyone who goes to Davos is an elite puppet. Well, that's what he does. Davos in Switzerland. It's where all the elite go. And that's it. Well, my stand. It's only the knighthood, It's only the knighthood about David Beckham. And he doesn't live in the country. That's what hurts. There's people here.
Yeah.
Listen, I refused one. For different reasons. Hillsborough is one. Cover-ups is another.
Yeah.
And there's been loads, as you know, it's not just Hillsborough, but there's been more cover-ups than a lifetime of putting a blanket over you when you go to bed. All the cover-ups.
Jimmy McGovern refused an honour. Going back to the 70s, and the artist Lawrence Stephen Lowry refused an OBE, MBE, and a knighthood.
Well, look at David Bowie.
They're nothing to do with what I do.
David Bowie.
David Bowie, the same. Yeah.
So I got one of them. Da Vinci has a blueprint for a helicopter, like aerial device, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
And a sub.
Yeah, you can check out his stuff online, Johan. There's lots of Da Vinci's inventions. There's actually, I think, an airport in Rome, but I'm not sure what airport, which has got scaled down models of his inventions. It was my sister-in-law who went over there, took our Katie the other year. They were just amazed to see.
I mentioned the airport. It was and it's gone. It's gone from me.
Yeah.
From my mind's up first. I was just gonna Chimino, is it? No. I forget. But yes, it's there. It's there. You even had, I'm not just saying this, one of the great visionaries was Marco Polo. He said, I want to get to China. He said, well, when you get there, you'll have to go back. He said, I can't do that. And he crossed it. He got to China. And that was one of the most remarkable journeys any human being could make. Marco Polo. Brilliant. We even flew into his airport. It wasn't his, but it's named after him. Just like flying into John Lennon and taking off in John Lennon. But listen, Anthony, what do you think?
Frank, I've loved it. It's as you said and we said when we spoke, it goes hand in hand with history because it's a telling of history. Yeah, no, I loved it. Thank you.
Because our lovely Toscana. The airport you're thinking of is Fiumicino in Rome. Yes. I was saying Shimino, wasn't I? But yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Tosca. See? No, Daisy.
Big thank you.
Tosca, they're all, I just love it, the way they come out and go.
Yeah.
Do you know we're speaking to the educated here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Intelligentsia, crowd. Intelligentsia.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this, didn't we? About the beauty of putting it out there to the ladies and the guys, and they would have their own input.
Well, I'm not having a pod tomorrow night.
A night of rest.
Well,
you're going to have a full one on Friday, on you.
Yeah.
With today's again goes
Yeah.
on every day. That changes.
Only 48 hours, but tomorrow night I just want to relax.
Yeah.
Relax. Throw things at the telly. Throw things at Lindsey Graham, as Johan said. Horrible man and Russell. I hate anybody. I don't. I hate the terminology hate, and I've never hated anybody in all my life. I really haven't. But when you see some people and the hatred spewing out of there, as Johan said, Lindsey Graham, I was listening to him. I was only listening to him today on someone's pod. He's vile. He hates the Chinese.
Yeah.
What for?
It's insanity. It's fair, and you that would be enough. But then on the other hand, we're seeing events happen on a daily basis that you think there's no reason why on earth is this happening, and you see the hatred. Yeah.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
It's really shocking.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and I know that we've seen the hatred against Liverpool and even Hillsborough. Some of the tweets that came out, only recently, when, every anniversary.
Yeah.
I said, shocking. But that's not that's hatred.
Yeah.
Then you get the clickbaits. And I went on this fella's profile. And I thought, who's this fella here? And there was nothing about him. Nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they just put up a phony name and comes out with vileness. And, you get lots of people like that.
You do.
And that's the sad indictment. But, but they just spew out hatred. Now, they're the people, I could easily hate. Like that Lindsey Graham, who's very vile.
Yeah.
He just hates. He just wants Russians killed. You've got this Mertz fella.
Yeah.
The Chancellor.
You think
his granddad was a fucking Nazi in the SS.
Why?
Sorry.
You just think to yourself, why aren't these people locked up? We can get locked up for a sentence, a word, agreeing with someone else, rightfully so. It's insane, Frank.
Hate speech, it's called. Hate speech, but yeah, so, but this fella, Mertz, he just hates the Russians. Hates them with a vengeance. And he wants to start a war with them. Honestly, he wants to start a war with Russia. And you can't make it up. It's like a Hollywood script. You cannot make it up. He wants to start World War. Germany's on the bloody doorstep. Be gone. I just can't make them out.
No.
Johan, great pilot, Frank and Anthony. Hope we get a whole season of this show. Yeah, we'll be back next week, same time. Won't we, Anthony?
We will. We will. Thank you, Johan. Thank you, Frank. We definitely will.
What Toscana says. Frankie says, relax.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah. Do you know? When we talk, and then I'm not saying educating people. I'm really not. I don't do things like that. But trying to put a point over, because if you put a point over, you're not giving bluster or propaganda or anything. Now, I was called a Putin puppet, and I'm not. So if anyone, I said to him once, I said, yeah, what made you say that? Can you give me some facts that I'm a Putin puppet? And he's talking about Russia and the winning, and I said, well, they are. No, they're not, according to, stop reading the Western press. So they've got labels.
Yes.
And if you speak about these kids being bombed every day, shelled, losing their lives, losing their parents, and like that little girl, with one leg. But if you say something, you go, oh, you could go to jail first. Hate speech. And it's not hate. You can't mention names.
The only hate is the hate of violence, hate of war.
This fella said about he's got no background or anything. He mentioned about, we won wars and everything, and Donald's going to trounce Russia, and he's going to trounce China, and they haven't seen us started. And I went, so just like the Vietnamese, just like the Houthis today, you can't even beat them. You couldn't beat the Taliban, who went on bikes with rifles on the back in sandals. Couldn't defeat them. And we're going to defeat the most mightiest power, nuclear power on the planet, Russia. How are you going to do that?
Again, it's insane.
It is insane. This is what people think. Anyway, so I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I
really am.
Did
Anthony,
you?
And this fella, Johan. Thank you, Frank, Anthony, and Jason, and Legends in the chat for another great show. Happy birthday to Barry's missus. And happy anniversary to Lynn and her husband. Yeah. Take care, Legends. See you all on Friday.
All the best, Johan.
Beautiful. Really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Johan. And hopefully I'll see some of you, or most of you, on Friday. That we'll be talking about some certain things, especially Lindsey Graham and the hate and the 50 days. Putin's only got 50 days, yeah, okay. So I'll have a chat with you tomorrow if you don't mind.
That's great, Frank. No, that's great.
And if it's raining, might be in the daytime. Unless rainy drags you out to the shops and whatever. So it could be daytime or it could be evening. Don't know. Is that okay?
I'm out at 2:00, but I should be back by 3. So that's my thing tomorrow. Yeah.
Grazie mille, Franco and Anthony, and everyone. It's going to be an 8:30. Ciao. Thank you, Toscana. Mille grazie. Cara me. Me and Toscana are getting married, you know. Yeah, I'm going to bring her over to the Amalfi Coast. Go to a big church there.
Fantastic.
And just see.
Great.
I might get Johan to be my best man. What do you think?
I think that would be fantastic.
Get our Lainey to be a bridesmaid.
Lainey bridesmaid, and I will be the official wedding artist. And then he said ward artist then, but wedding artist. Yeah.
That's incredible. I never realised that you would say such a thing. The wedding artist. It's great, isn't it? Love it. So anyway, people, got to thank Johan. I'm in, Frank. Who's the pastor, though? I'm going to ask the new Pope Leo. Might as well get him down from Rome. Not far. Get him. He'll be all right. Get Giorgio Maloney to come down and give a speech as well. Not that Mark Rutte.
Could be Bishop.
I mean, Frank, who's the pastor, though? My best man saying he's the pastor. So don't forget, I'll give you the bell tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's okay. Okay.
Frank.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you the ring. I might give you the ring in the morning, you know, whatever time. I might. If not, it'll be after 3:00. How's that?
That's all right, Frank. That's great. Yeah.
After 4, really. It'll be after 4. I'll give you, you know, you never know. Lainey might just leave you down the road.
No. She's locked the cupboard, make sure I don't get into trouble. And then I'll be out by 4.
Oh, that's mad, isn't it? I love that, you know. I'm in, Frank. Fancy going away, you know, with all this lot here, to Italy. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
It would.
Going away. Just
or a hotel.
Yeah, just having a relaxing time, just having a you know, you drink wine, you drink scotch.
Yeah.
Do you know what the Italians do? It's fantastic. They do this cocktail, and they have ice cream, not flavored ice cream, vanilla, right? Vanilla ice cream. And I forget what, but the main ingredient is Bailey's. Now, I thought I was eating ice cream, but I look like this. Gets up to go. Honest.
Ah,
This waiter, you know, who's serving it, he was laughing his head off. He said, "Don't worry, you're not the only one who does that." He said, "They've all done it." Fantastic. It's just nice, though, you know.
I got a
So,
vision. Godfather 3, the big all gathering out in the gardens.
exactly. Do you know that, though? It's been great tonight. I just love, I love literature and the history surrounding it, by the
Yes.
way.
Yeah, and again, the sheer pinhead thing of how did it happen?
Yes,
So many odds against it happening. So many brilliant pieces of literature, works of art that you think, wow, because these people didn't have the greatness,
precisely.
the assistance against adversity.
I was just looking at that quote there, what Jason's, you know, like with Shakespeare behind. Here let us breed and happily institute a course of learning and ingenious studies. That just sums everything up we've done tonight, hasn't it? It's just what we've done tonight, Anthony. Ingenious studies. So, listen, people, thank you so much. Hope to see some of you on Friday, and have a good evening tonight. Have a good tomorrow. Hopefully, have a good day on Friday, and I'll see you same time, 7 o'clock Friday evening. If you didn't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. See you tomorrow. Give it a ring.
Okay. Cheers, Frank. Good night.